Alcohol Tipping Point is brought to you in partnership with Speak Studios and Speak Boise. Speak Boise is a community-driven studio space where voices from all walks of life can speak and be heard. You can find them on Instagram and Facebook at Speak Studios, Speak Boise, and at their website, speakstudios.com. Speak Studios, speak and be heard. This podcast is also brought to you by Instant Imprints. Promote better with Instant Imprints. Instant Imprints are Boise's visual communications experts and your place for everything you need to promote your business, club, school, or group. As a locally owned business, Instant Imprints specializes in making your organization more visible with custom branded apparel, embroidery, promotional items, print services, and wide format printing for signs, as well as banners and vehicle graphics. Want better ways to get noticed? Visit Instant Imprints at instantimprints.com/Boise or call 208-IMPRINT. That's 208-467-7468. Attention Idaho and California residents. If you're shopping for a mortgage, contact PacFi, a mortgage brokerage with the top wholesale lenders in the nation. They are committed to simplifying the mortgage process, saving you time and money. Call 858-442-7048 or visit pacfi.com. NMLS number 1462943, Equal Housing Lender. Hello and welcome back to the Alcohol Tipping Point podcast. I'm so glad that you are listening today. Today on the show, we have Kirstin Walker from Sober Brown Girls. Super excited to have you here, Kirstin. First, I never asked you, where are you calling in from?
I am calling from Chesterfield, Virginia, a little bit outside of Richmond, Virginia. It's so good to be here too, by the way. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. So you're from the South.
I am.
Okay, cool. Well, tell me a little bit about who you are. I did a real brief introduction, but just who you are and what you do.
Sure. So, Kirstin Walker, I am just actually turned 40 years old.
Oh, happy
birthday.
birthday.
Just kind of crossed over that. Thank you so much. I, like I said, here in Chesterfield, Virginia, married for almost, I believe we're about to hit 17. I feel bad because I don't know it right off the bat. Once you get to a certain point in marriage, you just kind of don't know. But I think we're about to hit 17 years. 2 teenagers. I have a 15-year-old and an 18-year-old and 3 dogs. I actually am a buyer for an electric company. And then on the side, I manage Sober Brown Girls, which we're at soberbrowngirls.com and Sober Brown Girls on Instagram. And it's just a community that just kind of illuminates and just puts out there that there are sober brown girls out there. We do also have issues with alcohol as Black women, and we do recover. So it's just a platform to share my experience and then to highlight other sober brown girls that are out there. And then we've also got a little community of sober brown girls on Facebook. So that is the gist of who I am and what I do.
Yeah. Well, we'll get more into Sober Brown Girls and why you started it. But first, I just wanted to hear about your experience with alcohol.
Yeah. So my experience, it kind of started out a little late, I would consider. As a college student, I kind of, drank on the weekends, but really my drinking kind of sped up later on in life. I would say probably around probably the last 8 years is when it got kind of out of control. And that's the thing with alcohol is, you can manage it until, for some of us, we can't manage it anymore. And it started off with an occasional wine on the weekend. And then I started using alcohol as a way to deal with depression and anxiety, especially social anxiety. And I just started using alcohol as a coping tool. And that's when things just kind of got way out of control to the point of, drinking almost a bottle and a half of wine a night, and maybe sometimes adding vodka on top of that. And it just kind of just spiraled out of control out of nowhere. It just seemed like for me. And that's where, the issues began. So yeah, a lot later kind of in life, and it's just one of those cautionary tales of how alcohol can kind of snatch us up, out of nowhere. And it doesn't discriminate. It doesn't care how old you are. It's just the nature of the beast.
Yeah. I was actually talking to a social worker who works at an inpatient rehab, but he was saying that there were a lot of people coming in post-retirement who were developing alcohol problems. So definitely. So yours was later in life. And because it sounds like you were just a quote unquote ordinary social drinker. And and then just you started to use it just to manage your pain of anxiety and whatnot.
Yeah.
So then what happened when you realized, like, whoa, this is too much? Like, how did you stop drinking? What was that journey like?
So about 6 months before I stopped, I actually began my journey January the 29th of 2020. And I would say about 6 months prior to that, I just really started feeling the ramifications of the amount of alcohol that I was drinking. Started waking up every morning, just feeling just a sense of dread and just physical pain. My joints would start to hurt, and it would just be so hard for me to get up and start functioning. And I would start actually just being so frustrated with myself almost every morning. I remember just rolling over in bed and saying, "You did it again. You did it again. Here we are again." And so I just really started to take note of that about 6 months before I quit. But what really put me over the edge was I actually had to take my mother to a medical outpatient appointment. And the night before, I drank and drank and drank, because in my mind, all I thought was, you don't have to go to work the next day. You just have to get her to her appointment. You don't really have anything to do other than that. And I did have something important to do. I had to get her somewhere, and I could barely get up and function and get her to where she needed to be. I mean, we barely made it. And that really scared me. I started really thinking about what would happen if this wasn't something that was scheduled. What would happen if this was an emergency and you weren't able to get up and function and do what you needed to do, not just as a daughter, but as a mother, as a wife? What would that look like? And that's what really scared me into beginning my sober journey.
Yeah, I mean, and probably you were still intoxicated while you were driving, and
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I've had that where my daughter fell and hit her head on the back of the headboard and had to go into the ER and get stitches, and I had to drive her in. I'd been drinking. Like, this was years ago, but yeah, it's scary.
Yeah.
Very scary.
Yeah.
So you had that, and then what sort of things helped you quit?
So I immediately, when we got to the hospital, I was, like you said, I was still intoxicated, but while she was waiting, I just started downloading Quitlet. I just started downloading books. I just started looking online about what problematic drinking, what it looks like, where did I fit into the grand scheme of things? Because in my mind, all I thought was either you're an alcoholic or you're not an alcoholic. And so I didn't realize that, what that gray area was. And so I started sitting there and I started doing research. So really reading Quitlet really helped me in the initial days. A lot of podcasts really helped me. And then really involving myself and embracing the sober community on Instagram. I had no idea how big it was. And when I went on and I started finding these other women, these other mothers, these other wives that were experiencing the same thing that I was experiencing, it really kind of changed the game for me. And, those are the tools that I initially really started using.
Yeah, and it sounds like you had that at 6 months, and then I guess it sounds like you went through the process really quick of giving up alcohol. Did you just
Yeah.
go cold turkey and then you were done, or like what was that journey like?
I was just done. We still had alcohol in the house.
Mm-hmm.
And initially, I was just kind of telling myself, okay, take 30 days to not drink. And then, within a week or so, I kind of had another drink. So I said, okay, this is something bigger than it's going to have to be something bigger than just a 30-day fast, from drinking. You're going to have to really take this seriously. And so within that next month, I started involving family. I started, really involving my husband and really telling him what it was that I was feeling, what it was I was experiencing, and what my goals were. And that one of those, what it looked like is that alcohol was not going to be able to be part of my life anymore. I wasn't going to be able to just give it up for 30 days. And then after that, just kind of moderate. Like moderation just wasn't going to work for me. It was either or. It was keep it in my life or remove it from my life. And so over that next month, we just started kind of getting rid of the alcohol in the house. My husband decided, well, he was kind of a social drinker, but he didn't really like the fact that he was drinking as much as he was drinking either. He didn't really see it as being as problematic as I saw it. But at that point, he said to himself as well, if you're not drinking, then I'm not drinking either. And so we kind of just started just kind of removing it from our life and just kind of changing our lifestyle to just being non-drinkers.
And I think that like you sharing this and how it was for you is so helpful, because it's not like you hit rock bottom. It's not like
Right.
you were, had this problem for years. I mean, you realize like, wow, this isn't the way I want to live my life. And
Exactly.
yeah. And you and your husband, like for you guys, it just seemed like an easier decision, like a health decision, a well-being decision.
Yeah. And it really scared me that how my relationship with alcohol, how it changed from being something social to
Mm-hmm.
being something that I needed to deal with anxiety and depression. And that kind of scared me. And I didn't want to continue to live that way.
Yeah. And so then when did you start Sober Brown Girls?
So I started Sober Brown Girls a little bit after I talked with my husband about what my relationship with alcohol was going to look like. Because at that point, I had told kind of my partner, my best friend, what alcohol and what our relationship had turned into, and that the fact that I didn't want to drink anymore, I wanted to tell other people. So I went kind of, on Instagram and found this community, but I just realized and just started looking around, and I was like, I'm so glad that I found these women and I found, these different experiences on Instagram, but I'm not seeing a lot of women that look like me. And so that's what prompted me to start Sober Brown Girls, because I knew that I wasn't alone. I knew that there were other brown Black women out there that were probably experiencing the same thing that I was experiencing, but I wanted to just put a face out there as another sober Black woman that's out there in the world as well, because I know that representation matters. And I knew that if I just tossed, my name in the hat as well, that maybe this would help other Black and brown women who are also struggling with their relationship with alcohol.
Yeah. And what has the response been?
It's been amazing. It's been this is one of the best things that I ever could have done, because not only do, I lend a helping hand to other women as they struggle with their relationship with alcohol, but I gain so much support and love, and it helps me in my own journey. And it's just been a wonderful reception of the account, not just from Black and brown women, but women of all races, all shapes, all backgrounds have embraced me. And so it's really turned into this sisterhood, and it's just been an amazing experience.
Yeah. Well, can you speak a bit more to representation mattering and just how it's might be different and what's important, seeing other people, seeing other brown women, seeing other people like you?
Yeah, I think in our community it's just, alcohol or problematic drinking is just not talked about
Mm-hmm.
enough. And so that was really important to me to kind of step out there and put my story out there, because I want this to be a topic that isn't taboo. I want us to discuss this. I want us to really look at how alcohol affects us and our communities. And so it was really important for me to kind of put it out there and kind of highlight the stigma that's out there, because the more that we talk about it, the less the less it's stigmatized. And so that's why it was really important for me to start the community.
Yeah. And what do you think is different with the brown or Black community versus like white women, and how we kind of portray both problems with alcohol and drinking?
Yeah, I think a lot of times in the Black community, we kind of go with the saying, what happens in the house stays in the house.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been, for generation after generation, we've kind of been entrenched with that thought process. And so, it's really important for us to speak up. It's really important for us to really speak up and really put a voice, to name the problem, to really put it out there, to not think of alcohol as just something that has to be part of our lives, because it doesn't have to be. There are other ways that we can really live and thrive. And so it was really important for me to highlight that.
Yeah, so important and so needed. Um, so switching gears a little bit, what would you say are your top tips for anyone looking to change their relationship with alcohol?
I would say first and foremost is to be proud of yourself for even questioning your relationship with alcohol. Alcohol is so socially acceptable, so readily available. I mean, you can order groceries and get wine delivered right to your home. So just to be proud of yourself for even questioning your relationship with alcohol. I would also say it's very important to just take it one day at a time, and not to put a whole lot of pressure on yourself. One of my big tips that I tell people is, if you're going to remove alcohol from your life, just take your time and let that be your main priority. A lot of times people think, okay, I removed alcohol from my life. Now I've got to get on this fitness journey, and I've got to quit sugar, and I've got to do all these different things. And I just say, just focus on one thing at a time, and the other things will fall into place. So those are really my top tips.
Yeah, totally. That one day at a time, and this is not your time to diet or do anything drastic.
Right. Yeah, just be kind to yourself.
Yeah, definitely. Well, how has your life changed since going alcohol free?
It's just changed so much for the better. Physically, I feel more aligned with myself. I really can sense what I need when I need something. Do I need a day of self-care? Do I need to just take a nap? What is it that I need right now? And so I really look at those things really head on and just give myself exactly what I need. It's also afforded me the ability to ask for the things that I need. So I'm more open and honest with, my husband, as far as, do I need additional help? Especially with my kids, I've given them more responsibility. It's really helped to take a lot of pressure off of myself. It really also helped me to really look at my anxiety and my depression and really see what I need to really feel better. That's therapy, that's medication, all those things, I really got into, and I feel so much better for really looking at my health and looking at what exactly is it that I need. So those are really the things that have really changed for me. I'm not, that mom that's yelling all the time or that is angry, all the time. I'm really open and honest with my kids. We have so many better conversations and interactions. And so it's just made a world of difference for us as a family.
Yeah. What do you, I have seen, well, I don't quite, I have a 12-year-old and a 14-year-old. And
Yeah.
what do you talk to your kids about in regards to alcohol and their lives?
Yeah, I really highlight that just because, you're going to turn 21 one day, that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to drink. Alcohol does not have to be the center of your life. I know it's out there, I know it's readily available, but you don't have to invite it into your life. We really have open and honest discussions of how alcohol affected me, and how it can be a slippery slope. So, we really have those open and honest conversations now.
Well, it's probably been really eye-opening for them to just see you and your husband go through changing your daily drinking habits and just becoming non-drinkers.
Yeah, and it's really important to me that they understand that there are other coping ways of coping that you can turn to other than alcohol, because it can quickly turn from just occasionally drinking on the weekends to something that's really problematic. So I really want them to see that I'm human, that I've struggled with something, I will struggle with other things, but we can always overcome those struggles.
Yeah, what a great role model and great mom you are.
Thank you.
And a gift to you, your family, and fantastic. And the community. You're just all about giving. Well, what are your plans for the future?
My plans for the future are just to continue to just be an advocate for the sober community, for sober brown and Black girls, to just continue to just put myself out there and share my story, because I know that by sharing my story, it's going to help, someone else out there. So, just continue to use my voice, continue to grow my blog, continue to just put myself out there and just, be a beacon of hope for others that we can overcome this. And that, I just want to continue to share my story on gray area drinking, because that was something that was just so new to me. And so I just want to continue to just share my truth and share my story with others out there.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Well,
thank you.
Is there anything I should have asked you but didn't?
Wow, I can't think of anything. I really can't.
Yeah, I just think you have such a powerful message, and being an advocate for sober brown girls, I think is so important, and so it's great to have people like you out there. Remind everyone listening how they can find you.
Sure. So on Instagram, you can find me at Sober Brown Girls. You can also follow me on my blog at soberbrowngirls.com. So definitely pop on over and check out some of the articles and blogs that I've written, and that would be amazing.
Yeah, and I have been checking that out. I love your website, and you are inclusive of all people too. Just
thank you so much. Thank you. That's really important to me.
Yeah, me too. All right. Well, Kirstin, have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for being on Alcohol Tipping Point.
Thank you so much for having me.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Alcohol Tipping Point. I'm always here for you guys, so please feel free to reach out and talk to me on Instagram at Alcohol Tipping Point and check out my website, alcoholtippingpoint.com. Again, I hope you can use these tips we talked about for the rest of your week. And until then, see you next time.